the thing that I'm proud of, Travis, is that you are a white guy and I'm a black man, and we're sitting here in tandem, sharing a love for Jesus, sharing a love for people. And that what's happening right here, that's what our business is. We're not this black owned business in a historically black community that's saying, hey, this is just for black people. Now that's the impetus. I want to make the black community healthier, more aware, more conscious. But my arms are not closed off to you. My arms are very much open to you and anybody else, because I think that health it's the opportunity for us to realize how much alike we actually are.
Chris Goode, thanks for joining me, man.
Absolutely. Let's pray first.
Let's do it. You want to pray? You want me to pray?
Go ahead.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for Chris's life. Thank you for everything he means to me as a friend and buddy, and that he would, as an incredibly busy professional, spend time with me. I pray you bless it for both of us, that people would hear this and be encouraged and inspired, especially by Chris's story and what it means here locally and as it spreads across the country. It's just really incredible. So thank you for blessing him. Thank you for having him be a friend of mine, and bless this conversation. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for asking that.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's interesting. I'm doing this podcast on trying to figure out the intersection of faith and influence or leadership in business. Mm-hmm. So you were like wheelhouse guy for me as far as like, who am I connected to that fits in those spaces?
Yeah.
And your company, Ruby Jeans, is just incredible.
Thank you.
So let's just start there. Tell me about Ruby Jeans and your grandma.
Ruby Jeans and my grandma. So I grew up in Kansas City. My grandmother, she came from a really small town in Oklahoma. My grandfather came from a small town in Arkansas. Those two met up, created a family tree. I get to be, I'm privileged to be a part of that family tree because they're very, very hardworking people, very honest, very intentional people. My grandmother was the backbone for my family. My mom early on was raising four of us by herself, while my dad was out figuring out how to even, make ends meet and things like that. And so my grandmother became a very integral part of our story, a part of our family. She was the glue. She was the head. She was everything for us. And when I was 14 years old, my grandmother got really, really sick, really, really fast, primarily from type 2 diabetes. And so, unfortunately, her story ended at the hospital. But 2 days prior, my great grandmother, who was in relatively good health, she came up to say goodbye to my grandma, to her daughter, and in the waiting room of the hospital where my grandma was set to be taken off life support, she ended up having a massive heart attack and dying. And so in 2 days, we lost two of the most important people in our world. And it fractured my family, in a way that I don't think we've ever recovered from. And for me as a 14-year-old kid, it was my first introduction to grief. And these powerful women that we lost, in a way, I gained, because I made a silent vow to myself that I would tell their story one day, and I didn't know how. I played football and I thought I would be some wealthy NFL player and I would get to do something illustrious in front of my mansion or something. That didn't work out, Travis.
You're doing some incredible work though. So.
Thank you. But God had a different plan for it. I always carried the longing for my grandmother. I always carried this thing, this power that she had, that my mom has had, my great grandmother had, to create a bubble around lack. We didn't have very much, but it never felt like it. And it's so interesting to me in present day, some of the challenges that I'll have or have had over the years of my adult life, and I'll have money in the bank, but the stress of whatever's going on would be so heavy. And then I'll flash back many years prior and I'll think about, wow, they didn't have money in the bank. And they walked around with this upright presence, this poise, this grace, this joy. And it was uncanny. And it was, for me, I recognized it was a through line to Jesus. Um, and so I carried that, and I wanted to, everything I accomplished, I wanted to attribute it, like thank them. Like I would sack a quarterback in college and I would like, that's for you, grandma. I would hit him harder the next play. That's for you, grandma. Um, I always wanted them to see these different accomplishments and see me graduate or see me start this thing or do this thing. But they're gone. Fast forward, um, I started traveling for work. I was a catastrophe adjuster, and we would be in different hotels, multiple weeks at a time. I come home, and I'm making really good money, but I got burnt out. And prior to getting burnt out, I had taken a trip to Los Angeles with to visit a couple of buddies of mine. And I get there, and, Travis, I'm just there to hang out. I'm just there to see all the Hollywood sights, go to the beach, go hiking, eat a bunch of food, like just hang out. I work hard. I want to come to LA, just have a good time. I get to Los Angeles and my friends are like, hey, Chris, how was the flight? Yada, yada, yada. And then they turn to me and they're like, oh, we forgot to tell you, we're actually not eating today or tomorrow.
That's horrible news if you go to LA for food.
Very bad news. And I had shades on. I take them off. I'm like, run it by me one more time. What do you mean? What are you not eating? And so they explained to me that they're doing this 7-day juice cleanse. And I think they're just weirdos. I instantly like, oh, you guys are strange. And so I end up eating that day. The next day we wake up in this tiny little North Hollywood apartment and they're like, hey, we want to show you what we're doing. We want to explain to you why we're not eating. And so they sit me down in front of this documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And the beginning of it, I was annoyed, like, yeah, but the beach, like, why are we in the apartment watching a documentary? And then I stopped texting, I stopped being annoyed, and I started listening to what I was, sitting there acting like I was watching. And turns out it's about this guy that was really well off financially, but was struggling with his health in many different ways, taking over 10 different types of medicine every single day. Have you seen this documentary?
I haven't seen it. I've seen you reference it.
Yeah,
probably a dozen times.
And
since
so
we've known each other.
he goes through this whole process, and it dawns on me, this guy changed his life in 60 days. Now, it's very hard to drink only juice for 60 days, right? It's like next to impossible for a great majority of people because it's such a mental hurdle. It's doable. Our bodies can sustain themselves on it, but it's very difficult. So he does this, but by the end of this documentary, I'm like, okay, they didn't like, do some kind of crazy video camera work. No, he drank juice for 60 days. He looked like this at the beginning. And by the end of the documentary, it was like a whole different person was standing there. And I'm like, either they're really good with cameras or there's something to this. And so I say, okay, I'll give it a shot. I come home to Kansas City and I do a 10-day juice cleanse. Cause I'm one of those people. It's like, oh, you guys did 7. All right, I can do 10. Oh, about day 3, I thought I was going to die.
Talk me through the mental piece of that, because you've got to get through the mental aspect. You mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? Like day 1 through 3, probably really, really hard. Maybe it gets a little like harder.
Day 1 is,
or at some point
exciting.
You hit like this mental level where you're like, okay.
Day 1 is super exciting. It's like, all right, I got this challenge in front of me. I got all my produce, went to the store, I bought a juicer for this, so it's exciting. And then you get to day 2 and it's like, oh my God, this sucks. I'm starving. Day 3, it's like, getting towards being the worst part of it. The energy level falls, you know, you're a little more moody, you know, the thing you realize, you start to recognize at that point just how much of a factor food is in our lives. You start to, when you don't have it, and around day 3 it gets really tough, and day 4 I'm like, I made it, you know, this far. I don't have to go 10 days. Who cares? Nobody's counting. But the competitive side of me, the stick to itiveness that I possess is like, no, dude, you said 10 days, do the 10 days. And I'm like, okay, fine. And so I get through. And I had this clarity, Travis, that it's hard to even really put into words. And I just finished a 5-day juice reset here recently. And, you know, it's the same thing every time. It's difficult. And then it's like, wow, I feel really good.
Is your company selling like 5-day programs or 10-day programs too?
We do. We sell
and
juice
we'll
resets.
get to that, but I just thinking I'll forget that question. But like, I probably need to do a juice reset. I need to reset a lot of things, but
I think it's good for anybody to at least, you know, some people are extremely healthy, they very clean and not as necessary. But if you're somebody that has a little bit of soda here and there, some fried food, some liquor, some this and that, even in moderation, every now and then it's good to just reset.
Do you know the data on fasting, just in general, not just juice cleansing? That's different, but fasting. I think the data on fasting has been really interesting, because they're saying, you know, you do a 3-day fast, it's like clearing your body out if you do that once a year. Like, really, the benefits to fasting is phenomenal.
So I intermittent fast.
So do I. I don't eat breakfast.
Okay.
That's the only way I can keep the dad bod at least relatively in check.
Which is why I'm starving right now, actually. No, I have not eaten
on
yet.
the way over here, I went to this shop right down from your house and got a burger.
Yeah, so I'm very hungry. And I was running late, so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to eat. We're going to do this. But yeah, I believe in fasting. I think that, you know, our bodies need a break. You know, I think our bodies, our organs, they need time to process everything that they've taken in over the day prior. And then there's also research out there where diseases can be starved. You know, they're fed by, you know, candida yeast and things like that. And so when you put your body in starvation mode, it starves out a lot of those ailments.
So does the juice cleanse do that in ways too? Like, so you're not having like having to process big chunks of food.
Yeah.
You're having just like juices that maybe are a lot easier for your body to dispose of or get the nutrients out of.
Yeah. So, I mean, the idea of it is I'm not chewing, I'm not eating, I'm not bringing in anything bad. But then at the same time, I'm not just doing like a water fast where I'm not necessarily getting the nutrients that I need. I'm also taking in a concentration of fresh nutrients from just fruits and vegetables. And so your body reacts, you know, your skin brightens, your eyes clear up, your energy goes up after it recovers, right? After it recovers. But it's kind of like, it's the same thing. You're fasting, but you're also injecting fresh nutrients. And so your body it comes alive by the end of, I would say, about day 4.
Would it be similar to a fast then if you're doing a juice cleanse? Like, is it just different enough because you're actually getting nutrients in your body?
It's a little bit of difference because your body doesn't go into ketosis, right? And so, you know, fruit still has the natural sugar in it.
Yeah.
And so your body isn't in ketosis, but it's still in that starvation mode, right? You're not eating protein, and you're going to lean out naturally, but you're injecting nutrients as opposed to nothing. You know, like fasting is like you and I don't eat until 12 o'clock. And so my body feels so much different. And, you know, our bodies adjust to everything. Mm-hmm. But your body in that window, whatever your fasting window is, feels so much different just having a tea or a black coffee or a water as opposed to drinking fresh juice. So it doesn't fill you, but you feel more nourished and refreshed.
Yeah. So we got to get back to your story a little bit, because I think one of the beautiful things about you and your story and how you go about your business, which is flourishing, it's growing, you're got Whole Foods, these other things, is how you've interwoven your grandmother's story into your why and why you do what you do. And the community leadership even that you bring to the table as an African American entrepreneur in a city, in a big city in Kansas City that's growing, has really innovative stuff. So tell me about weaving that story into almost everything you do. I mean, even your house. Your house is beautiful. Thanks for letting us use this space to do this podcast. But having your grandmother's iconic image in the house, and like just always having those reminders.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a society where, from a marketing perspective, we've recognized that storytelling is powerful, right? Everything has a story attached to it. Even when you see huge events that are programmed with millions of dollars, Super Bowl, draft, anything, what you'll see is storytelling. And I think that the best stories are stories that are less of a story and more of a reality, right? And so I know that's kind of a vague perspective, but I think storytelling, has crossed over. It's crossed over a line of being real. It's everybody is posturing to tell a story, to pull on people's heartstrings, to say, let's interject some conflict, and and then go up to a success point, right? There's this crescendo in storytelling that even music carries. And for us, and for my grandmother, it's not really a story. It is, because you have to speak about what happened, but it's just a reality. The idea that she started from such a low place, country town in Oklahoma, and wanted to come to Kansas City and create a better life, a more opportunity, and looking at Kansas City as a big city, and worked in a linen factory and grew up soul food only. That's it. We eat soul food, and continued that, and ultimately died from it. It sucks. It's not a story that I wish I ever had the opportunity to tell. And so there's a harsh reality in it that, it carries a magnitude of weight, of power, because it's less of a story and more of a reality, a harsh one. But we package it up, and we colors around it, and we I tell it in a way that's graceful, that's not dark, that's not scary, but it's honest. And so I don't know if I answered the question, but she was special, and she had this ability to love us deeply, like, and she did it with food. And food that was her love language. That's not in the book as a love language officially, but it was hers. It was fried chicken and fried pork chops and sweet potatoes with everything in them, and pound cake and raisin pie and sweet potato pie and chitlins and greens with neck bones and fatback and cornbread with everything on it. And it wasn't a love language that was sustainable. And so, I tell a story of heartbreak, essentially, in a way that hopefully prevents it for somebody else.
Are there moments where it just is, you wish your grandma could see what you've done?
Oh my God, man, every day. I wish I could just hear her voice, because it's, we're standing up a business, that stemmed from peril, and I want to know she's proud of it. I want to know she's okay with it. She was very shy. And so yeah, I wish I could just, I could hear her say, keep going, or I got your back, or why's my face everywhere? Like I wanna hear her voice.
Yeah.
And so I think, her image on our brand is um it's like comforting. It's like, a shield, like a shield of love. And so yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, you got to know that your grandma would be thrilled for your success, not because her face is on a wall. She's anything like my grandparents are like, don't,
No.
I don't want to be talked about. I don't want to be like,
Yeah, let me do my thing over here.
It's a beautiful thing, man. The brand that you built is special. It's fun to watch from afar. And I know, because the interwoven story in it is all the stuff that you do is around that story, that live in the mission, not just the story behind it, but live in the mission to try to get folks from the similar backgrounds that haven't lived healthy to say, hey, you want to be around your grandkids longer, and we can help you with that.
Yeah.
Out of love, not like, it's been a
Not
grind
from a
for
judgmental
you.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. But for you personally as an entrepreneur, like, you got to make money, but I know that you've ground through this thing. Like, this is, it's not like all of a sudden you're this successful guy that's in Whole Foods and has multiple stores in Kansas City and have grocery stores asking you to come bring your stuff to their stores. And you have done like, you've grounded out. You just hired a SEAL. I mean, you have a significant business. You're just now getting to a place where you feel comfortable having someone administer what you've been doing. So you've been grinding all that out yourself, hiring, firing, all the pieces of it.
Every single one.
For, is it 8 years now?
Yeah.
2015.
Just past 8 years.
Man, that's incredible.
Thank you.
And super proud to know you on as a result, and in large part because you just live this mission. And that's who I want to be surrounded by, are people that live in a mission.
Yeah, same.
And
I mean, we met in that vein. It was through the leadership conference, right?
Yeah.
So we met in the vein of service, and we've been able to maintain it over the years. But it was, go ahead.
No, that's all right. No, I love people know their stories. Like, how did those two guys even meet?
Yeah. Like, what? What
separate ends of the planet, 3 hours away, but they're why do they even know each other? Right. Some of these podcasts are just me chasing people down. But the beautiful thing about this one is that it's when I come to Kansas City, it's great to see you, and you always make time for me.
Absolutely.
It's I love getting your avocado toast. Or no, it's not the avocado toast. It's the power toast.
Oh, the power toast.
It's like banana, peanut butter,
granola, honey.
So freaking good.
It's so good.
Your food is so good. But that piece of it, the faith element too, is really, I love that about you. It kind of always comes back to this thing that there's something bigger than us. And I think when we live in a way that there's something bigger than us, that's a real mission. When we're living for ourselves, for our own money, which we do all the time, right? Like, I do this, you do. Everybody has their own selfish nature, their own issues. But the fact that you're doing this for something bigger, that's commendable. And I know it's faith driven for you.
Absolutely. I heard a pastor say recently, I was actually disappointed because I hadn't been to church in a while, honestly. And so I go, and my pastor wasn't there. And I felt like I need a word from my pastor. And there's this guest pastor. I'm like, oh. We would come back on the day that pastors
People keep forcing you to hear stuff you don't want to hear initially.
Yeah. And so he said something that resonated so deeply with me, in the vein of what you're saying and how it all ties back to faith. He said that ultimately, everything that we're doing, that we're spending our time on, our energy on, our passion on, should be eternally significant. It blew me away because it really creates priorities, a very clear set of priorities, because, we can spend time haphazardly, but when you center it on things that matter well into your physical body is in the grave and your spirit is in heaven, when you center it on things that will live when those two things occur, what are you how are you going to move? What are you going to do? Like, what does your day look like? What are you actually giving your energy to? And it blew me away because it just is, it's such an idea of like not wasting time,
Mm.
not spending our time in a way that is not a true investment into eternity.
It's kind of this concept that I've heard. I don't know how many times I've heard this, but every interaction you have with somebody is either going to push them forward or push them back. And I know that's like what you're striving to do with your business. It's not only is it important to have healthy options, but for a lifestyle change, or to be around for your kids. The story is just so powerfully impacting how you're doing that. And it's such a crucial piece. And to have that as a faith element that's overarching all of that, because I know that you were taught that by your grandma and your family. That's just so encouraging. Let's talk a little bit about influence and leadership.
Sure.
We talk about servant leadership. We believe in that. I think you serve others. You can have a real influence in that space, but you're doing some stuff in the community that's really, really impactful. And I just wanted to discuss that really quick. I want to make sure I keep on the topic, but so first, let's start with health and underserved communities. So like, this is a big deal. You have a restaurant on Troost Avenue. It was a food desert. And you said that's got to change.
Yeah.
And it's in large part because your upbringing.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about that.
The interesting thing about our location at 30th and Troost is, we had a relationship with that building decades ago. So I walked into that building and it was the Day-O bread store as a kid. I went to daycare across the street as a low-income kid. And so it was just home, and this building came to my attention. What am I? I'm 39 now. So 6 years ago, this building came to my attention, and my immediate thought was like, oh, I don't know, juice, So I didn't naturally lean into it immediately. But my second thought was like, whoa, man, oh my God, this is why we do this. There's never ever been a healthy business on the east side of Kansas City, Missouri, in the history of Kansas City, Missouri. And I wish I could say that with a sense of pride, because we have now filled that gap. And maybe on some level, there is, a piece of joy that, just a more of a gratitude that we get to stand in a gap, right? But not a happiness, because how is that the case? How is it the case that there's no healthy offerings on an entire portion of a city? And now still in 2023, in a rapidly growing economy, local economy, we're still saying that we're the only ones. And so there's conflict and pain in that statement, and a little piece of joy because, hey, we're standing up to that challenge. But there's these inherent barriers financially for the native community, right? Not the native community to still even access us. And so our presence is great, but every single day, Travis, I'm trying to find ways to break down barriers, and that's through language, through philanthropic efforts, through shattering long-standing racist symbols, because health is for the way you look at a juice bar historically, it's just, this is your physical health. Drink juice, drink smoothies, eat healthy foods, and you're going to feel better. Yeah, that's great. But that's such a foundational block. That's not the end of the conversation. And so for us, if I'm thinking of my grandmother in the back of my mind, and she is this person that I want to be able to access us, right? Many years after her demise, I have to look at it in a bigger picture. What's this environment like? How do we chip into it? Is there trash, filth all over the bus stop that my family used years ago? Well, how can we help? So we adopt the first ever bus stop ever adopted in Kansas City history and create a trend. The Purcell Stairs, there's a blighted hillside that people would love to work out on. There's a huge level of disinvestment on the east side of Kansas City. Well, how do we chip in? Well, we're going to clean it up. And so we've cleaned it up, and now we're raising money. We've raised substantial funds to now redevelop that hillside, turn it into a health and wellness site. Just the acquisition of our real estate at 30th and Truce is extremely important, because if you notice, I said the native community, right? The east side of Kansas City, historically, it could only be populated by people that we didn't have the opportunity to buy on the west side. All right, you could not do it through these restrictive covenants and yada yada yada. And so if that native community that my family was a part of becomes displaced, and they start to flee through a number of tactics, then a part of making this community, this native community, healthier is being a true stakeholder, or an asset holder, an entity with a voice that says, we want this to change, but we're not saying it in a vacuum. We're saying it with all of our fingerprints here, there, and there too. And we're also real estate owners. And so it starts to carry more weight, and you're not just, still have a mouse voice, but the mouse voice, it starts to be a trusted mouse voice, right? And when you have trust, that mouse voice starts to get a little deeper. It's like, hey, why is that mouse over there? Does that mouse have muscles?
Stuff. Yeah.
What is going on? So that's I'm trivializing it in some way, but that we're sincere about this work. We want to do it in a way that's graceful. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm grateful that we've been able to accomplish already. We're not where we're headed. This isn't like we arrived story. That's not our story. The thing that I'm proud of, Travis, is that you are a white guy and I'm a black man, and we're sitting here in tandem, sharing a love for Jesus, sharing a love for people. And that what's happening right here, that's what our business is. We're not this black owned business in a historically black community that's saying, hey, this is just for black people. Now that's the impetus. I want to make the black community healthier, more aware, more conscious. But my arms are not closed off to you. My arms are very much open to you and anybody else, because I think that health it's the opportunity for us to realize how much alike we actually are. So I'll shut up, but
I mean, it's the right soapbox, man.
Yeah.
We need more people who see the transcendence of our humanity over our politics, the colors, over socioeconomic levels, caste systems. This is I think the beauty of the American idea.
Yeah.
Is that, and there have been plenty of faults, right? And you're working on some of those locally with Truce Avenue, trying to get it renamed. The American idea is that we create a more perfect union as we go, and we try to fix the things that were a problem in the past and give everybody an opportunity to get to a space where they can find success and have an impact on their community. And you're doing such a beautiful job of that.
Thank you.
It's incredibly encouraging. And in the midst of that, you're getting kneecapped. You're having issues like that Truce store got broken into.
Yeah.
And in a gracious way, you said, listen, I hope that whoever broke in got what they needed at that time in their life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you still have to forgive them in your heart, or there's aggravations with losing whatever was lost in that situation. But to have the grace to say, listen, this isn't going to stop us from just keeping on our mission. And I think the only way to do that is to be on a mission, right? Because if a setback like that stops you from doing your mission, the mission isn't very strong in the first place.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a beautiful part of your story that I love reading about, and I've read about, and we've talked about a number of times. But just really quick, tell me how the mentality going through a situation like that, where you're trying to get this business off the ground, and all of a sudden you have a burglary, and it's,
I mean, entrepreneurship, and I'll say, even outside of entrepreneurship, when we're earnestly building something, whether it's a relationship. You know, my wife and I have been through some storms, you know, but I thank God every night I get to lay down and see her praying next to me. I thank God when I wake up and I see her, I hear her snoring. She's probably gonna be mad I said that. But
I'm gonna keep my wife out of it because I don't know what to talk about.
but we went through a range of things, you know. I've had friendships that have gone through storms, you know, and building Ruby Jeans as a business, I didn't know what I was doing. I still, a lot of times I don't, you know. I have to call people and surround myself with smart people and, you know, people that understand things that I have no clue of. But what Ruby Jeans has given me a great deal of is faith capacity. I've been sued erroneously, and it was proven that it was erroneous, but I still had to walk through it for 3 years. And it's such an energy suck that the only thing that is possibly going to get me up at 4 a.m. the next morning is my faith. And so the beauty in building something when you really are coming from a true posture of sincerity, of passion, of honesty, of integrity, is that it's going to force you to get closer to your faith. It's going to force you to talk to God more. It's going to force you. He's sitting over there like, I come on, come on, sit right here, talk to me. And challenge creates that if your heart is open to receive and to create that deeper connection with, you know, with our Lord and Savior. And so it's been hard. It's been some extremely hard days. And lately I've been saying, people ask, how you doing? You know, and I never want to be one of those people that give this rosy picture like everything is all good, because it is not. There are some worrisome days where it's like, you know, like, this could go this way, but I got to turn my faith and my attention back that way. And I've been saying that, you know, I got a lot of challenges, but I got more opportunities. And so I'll hit a tough spot and I say, God, I trust you. And then I'll hit a great spot. I was on NBC Nightly News the other night, you know, and it was just a completely organic, out of nowhere thing, but it's really impactful, and the timing of it is impactful. And so, you know, we're going to market in our first accounts next week. And then the week prior, God says, oh, okay, I'm going to create a spotlight for your story, quick one, but it's going to be a big one. And I see that and I don't go, whoa, baby, look at them. I say, God, I trust you. Thank you. Like the same energy when the bad stuff hits and when the good stuff hits, and keeping that fluidity in my spirit.
Yeah. I hope that you do scream a little bit though. When you win this, get the successes, you work really hard. Yeah. One of my mentors, I was playing golf, and my dad's always kind of been even keel, except he could get really upset sometimes. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, really even keel. And when he golfs, he like loses his mind. And the good things are just like, you know, they're not that big a deal, but the bad things are really bad.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing golf with my mentor, and I shoot I have this really great hole, and I shoot a birdie, and I just get the ball out of the hole and I walk off, and he's like, that's it? No, nothing? You're not excited at all? You just got a birdie and you're not that great a golfer? Like, celebrate it for a second. It's okay. You know, it's okay to celebrate it for a second.
Yeah. And
it's okay to be emotional in a second. I've heard even some championship winning athletes who say, listen, I'm going to give this a week. Mm-hmm. And then after that week's up, it's back to the grind. We're getting back. This is the only way Kobe Bryant was as good as he was, because that dude's like, all right, I'm getting after it. But there's a moment to celebrate, and that's okay.
Yep. And I agree with that. And I think my mom cleans toilets for a living. She owns her own residential cleaning business, but my mom cleans toilets for a living. And so my celebration is yet to come.
Yeah.
You know?
I get that. Yeah. So don't take my advice all the time.
Well, I hear
get
you
it.
and I
Yeah.
agree. And I guess I posture gratitude in place of, like I want my team. I know they get tired,
Yeah.
they're busting their butt right now getting ready for an event,
Hmm.
and they're getting paid to do it. But it can be grueling,
Yeah.
like I want to see them in a different iteration. I want to see my mom in her, period of rest.
Hmm.
She's over 60. She don't have a pension or 401, any of that waiting for her. And so, man, I can't celebrate
Yeah.
yet.
I
So,
totally get
yeah.
that. It makes a ton of sense. What do you want to leave your sons? And I don't know. I don't know if I should say that. I don't know if
No, it's
that's like a
fine.
public thing.
No, it's fine.
You have one son.
Yeah.
We'll keep it at that. What do you want to leave your son? What do you want him to see? As you're leading, you're doing all these things that are inspiring.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about for your son?
Yesterday he had soccer camp in the KC Current. We got a great relationship with them. So they had this little micro camp. Perfect. It's his first thing like this. It's an hour and a half for 3 days. And I ended up taking Juice up there for the kids and parents, and it was just a spontaneous thing. And they were super grateful. And they were like, "Hey, you want to say a couple of words?" And when the video starts, my son is like, "Hi, Dad." And I can hear a sense of pride in his voice. And so what I want to leave him is a voice, a free voice to shape and change. I tell him every morning before school, you're a world changer. You have the ability to change this world. And I want to leave him with just an ounce of confidence to knowing that that's true, that it's not this pipe dream, that it's not this insurmountable, ascent. I want him to know that no matter who may see him as marginalized, no matter what the world may view of him as a young black boy, he's capable. If he knows that he's capable, there's nothing that he can't do.
That's beautiful. Let's really quick. We'll close out with business side of things. What you're doing. You're an incredible entrepreneur, but you're also creative. Like, your designs are beautiful. The art around your brand. It's a lot of fun to talk about that side of it too, because I just, it's fun to, it's kind of like what I geek out on is like, how do these entrepreneurs make it happen?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your story on building a business, what you're up against these days as you expand across the country.
Yeah. So right now we have 4 physical locations, one of which we do not operate, down in Springfield, Missouri. We do pop-ups a lot. We've leaned into catering a ton. And so we'll be, delivering to office buildings and things like that. There's a bank that ordered a bunch of juice today, or the Royals will cater from us, or their opponents will come in town and say, "Hey, I want, 50 acai bowls," a number of different things like that. And so catering has presented a pivot of sorts for us that is somewhat shelters us from the seasonality of Missouri.
Yeah.
We were talking about how schizophrenic our weather cycles are here, and so catering is something that, it persists. It doesn't matter if it's, it's cold outside. Well, the office needs to eat. This event needs to eat, and they want healthy things. And there's not a ton of healthy offerings from a catering perspective. So catering has been a big focus. We invested into a van that can, it can shoot to an office, make a delivery of a big catering, but it can also, a tent can come out and the table can come out, and there can be a little setup really quick. So we've created some nimble outreach, just invested in a food trailer. And so the same thing, but just a scale up from that. So a lot of outreach. I started to pivot away from, wanting to create more physical stores. It's such an investment, and they don't always work. And so I don't want to really roll those dice anymore, nor can I, because every store that we've opened has not been successful. And so we're pivoting in that way, testing markets, because maybe there are some areas where it just is a void. There's our audience and we should go there. But this gives us the ability to test that without such a huge investment. And then now we're moving into wholesale. And so for years, we've been working on wholesale. How do we take a product that's only good for 7 to 10 days and distribute it? Well, you can't. And so we figured out that nuance, and it's not through putting weird chemicals in. It's not through heating up to kill off potentially harmful microbials and the good stuff that's in the juice, but pressure. So we've established a method that has been accepted through the market of cold pressed juice with high pressure processing, known as HPP. And so now we got our first pallet of juice. Our juice will be starting to move around the coffee shop that you went to before you came. They'll sell our juice, and there's a hotel, a big hotel that will do a cool marketing thing to announce they're selling our juice, and
in that one
centers.
hotel, or like across.
Starting with that one. And so we'll start with the
kind of like
emphasis.
Whole Foods is like a test ground in some of their stores.
Yeah.
And I want to get to Whole Foods. Sorry to interrupt.
But no, it's okay. We'll start here locally, like as a concentration, just to learn it and understand it. But in September, we're already set to launch across the region of what Whole Foods dubs the Rocky Mountain region. So as far as Montana, we'll have juice in Whole Foods.
Do you need a salesperson for Montana? My wife and I love Montana.
Yes.
Just take pallets of juice with us. That'll be my cleanse. My 5-day cleanse will be driving to Montana with my family. Montana's gorgeous.
And I've never been.
Oh man, it's gorgeous.
Okay.
So that Whole Foods, how many stores are you in for that?
It'll be 22 stores to start. And so then it'll go from 22 and it'll just scale up from there. I've learned
you got to be like, your company's got to be wheelhouse for Whole Food people. Like,
yeah, but there's also
have a juice bar. You go into Whole Foods, you have a juice bar right there. Like, I mean, it feels like that just makes tons of sense.
It does. And there's been an opportunity for us to open more physical stores. But again, I'm pivoting away from the heavy operations world and wanting to be able to spread our wings.
Are you doing more distribution to those stores then? You're not going to do juice bar stuff, or they're going to run juice bars within their stores while selling products?
No, we won't have a juice bar until the day. And there's a conversation, I can't operate a juice bar in Montana. There's no way. It's hard to operate one here.
Send us up there. We'll do it.
So, it'll be distribution focused. Okay. And then if they open the door to partner with us from an operation standpoint, then we can do a lot more.
And they've got to be excited to partner with you because you're offering, that's, in their space and their mission.
I think they are. Whole Foods has been really good to us. We are, and nobody knows this yet, but we'll be a part of this program that they have that somewhat insulates us, that we're excited about, and that news will come out. But they've just been really fair to us. Dealing with Whole Foods is difficult because of the sheer amount of departments, the people, the nuances of channeling through this mega corporation. But I've learned a lot in dealing with them.
That's great. And the interesting thing about an entrepreneur too, typically, is the need to pivot so often. You've done that in your business so many times, saying, we're going to do stores, and you obviously have your flagship stores here in Kansas City.
Yep.
But then going to distribution, figuring that piece out, that's like a whole different business in and of itself.
It is.
Food truck, whole different business in and of itself. How do you travel around and have food?
Yeah.
How do you take care of employees, make sure they're running it, and that you can trust people to be with your branding and your product and your culture? And then, even doing catering. It's a whole different business.
It is.
So to be able to like balance all that's like entrepreneurship, like the view of what entrepreneurship is.
Yeah, it is. And I
nice
just have
fight every day.
A better hairline. That's
your hair is doing a lot better than mine is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's stressful, but team. I've got an outstanding team of people, and that's I still pray for it, because what you learn quickly is that it's not you. Like, it's not you. I can be the spark, and I can stand out there and I can say, hey, come on, let's go this way. but they have to get there and really do all the rigorous work to actually make it happen. So I'm just grateful that, God has blessed me with a team of people, primarily women, ironically, under my grandmother's name, that are really taking Ruby Jeans to its next iteration and really being able to execute on the vision that God's placed inside of me.
That's so good. And how do you think about hiring in an environment where it's kind of weird, where it's hard to find people? I'm sure your retention rates on like the entry level jobs
Yeah.
are really tough to deal with.
Yeah,
How I mean, is that keeping you up at night, people, or you just you're
I think
leaning
it
on
keeps
that?
my COO up at night now. No,
Now it's on her.
Yeah, like, oh, you got it.
It's your turn now.
No, it is the hardest part of business is people. Sometimes I wish instead of a business degree, I got like a psychology degree, because it's people. It's people that are the nexus point of every single thing that we do, and understanding the fears and the worry and how to be empathetic and compassionate, but still accomplish a goal. Very, it's a skillful balance. And I don't know that I found it, but what I know is that I've opened my ears more, to the team's objective as opposed to Chris's objective.
That's got to help take maybe some of the weight off it too, as you build a culture of trust and you have people that you've trained in the culture you have within your business, your company. They see the mission that you're living, obviously, like day to day, and you'll stumble in that. We've all got our problems, but that's got to help tremendously that you're living the mission every day and you're including people that want to be on a mission.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, I actually care about my people, like I want them to be successful. I want them to be happy. I don't want to build a big company and then I'm like, hey, whew, thanks guys. No, I want to be right there with them, with their families. And, we're building this family culture that often, to me, it's actually built away from work. It's, hey, let's have a barbecue. Hey, let's go catch the game. Hey, let's actually see who the people are behind the workers. Even for me, like they have to see me as a husband, as a father, as a community leader and a voice outside of Ruby Jeans, right? They got to know the fabric of my heart on some level. Or else who are you working with? You have no clue.
In your experience, and this will be my last question before you kind of tell me where people can find all your stuff and marketing and know a little bit more about your business. But from your experience, what have you learned about people? What's like maybe one thing that you're like, in my 8 years grinding through this, the daily knife fight of entrepreneurship, I've learned this about people, whether it's employees, community, and just in general, one large idea.
They just want to spend time with you. They just want to spend time with you.
I love it. I mean, it's a relational world.
Yeah. They just want to spend time with you. I mean, people just want to spend time. And that's not just team members, or staff. That's everybody, my friendships and my family. They just want to spend time, right? If people care about you, they just want to spend time with you. And it becomes very challenging when you are building and you do have all those tentacles and all those pieces and components coming in and you're trying to figure it out and time starts to disappear. You still have to find a way to give that time somehow.
I got to ask another question now because you just I'm thinking about me and the guys I walk with, the three of my best friends. We talk about loneliness all the time. Whereas we're as connected electronically as we've ever been. Mm-hmm. We're as disconnected relationally as we've ever been.
Yeah.
And you're saying that in your experience, people want to be in relationship. I agree. I think we all want to be known. Yeah. We all want to have connection. As depressed or as in a dark spot as you are, because it's easy to go home and sit in a corner and just doom scroll social media accounts. We are made to be connected in person, not through video, not through Zoom, not through any of that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a call for people to know that, like, there's a reason why we have a loneliness epidemic. And we've got to get better at sitting in a room with people and exposing who we are.
We do. I mean, if we just start to shift that social media time back into the real world, I think we see a lot of things change, because, it's just like email communication. I took college course and I never forget, they were teaching us email communication specifically, and how easily tone can be misconstrued, and meaning can have so many different meanings just by the positioning of the words, and and so now we're trying to live through Facebook. We're trying to live through Instagram squares that there's no way you could really understand the true meaning behind it. We're just painting a pretty picture and saying, hey, this is who I am. Are you looking at my painting? Oh, no, don't look over here. Don't look over here. Not at the real me. Look at the painting.
Yeah.
And so I think that when you sit right in front of somebody, the painting goes away. Where's your painting? And that's why people will meet people nowadays and they're like, you're much different in person. Well, yeah, this is actually who I am.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's we've got to get better at relationship and connecting with others. I think I think it's in us. I think God created us to be relational.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole idea of the church. It's a community of believers and you can feel it. We watch church from home, and
so hard.
Oh my God. It's a whole different thing. But as soon as you walk into the house and there's other people believing and praising and worshiping and crying and singing and shouting, it's like, oh, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I love people, there are some hard relationships for sure, but man, people are so cool when you really get a chance to like dig into their psychology and what they care about and where they come from. It's cool to know.
There's a lot more layers than just, hey, this is one of my employees. They're dealing with divorce, pain, struggle, death, kids, problems with kids.
Yeah, just like
relational issues. We all have that. Like, if you're not going past the outer layer of the onion, this is my employee, you are not experiencing what they've really got going on. So you got a problem with an employee, it's probably going much deeper than just the employment piece.
For sure.
It's a microcosm. Yeah, for sure. Dude, thank you so much. It's such a joy being with you. Where can people find you? Like, where would you recommend they go to find your stuff?
So our website is www.rubyjeansjuicery.com. That'll be important because I'm sure most of your listeners are not in the Kansas City market, but we'll be doing direct to consumer shipping soon. So you can order juice, order merchandise, things like that. In Kansas City, we're at 30th and Truce. We're inside of the Whole Foods in Brookside. We're in Town Center out in Leawood, Kansas at 118th and Row. We've got one in Springfield, Missouri inside of Price Cutter. And then we're on Instagram at Ruby Jeans Juicery. I'm at Genuine Juice Guy. And that's pretty much everywhere.
I love it. I love it, man. You're a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you, Travis. Man. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's fun.